probably, I suspect, and I don't have this determinatively, so please don't go out and say that Ross Coulthart said this for sure. But I've got a hunch from tips that have been dropped to me that humans, our origins, are probably because of those NHIs. It's interesting, isn't it? And that a lot of our prehistory is better explained if you take into the account the idea that there has been an NHI presence on this planet for much of human evolution and history. And imagine what that does for religions. And this.
Before then, people were living for hundreds of years. Chromosome number 2 in the human body was pulled out, and then 2 telomere caps are put on each end that allow our cells to replicate. It has the biological buffer material in it. When the buffer material runs out, that's when your body starts the death process. Now the maximum lifespan that they found out at Harvard that a human being could live on average would be 120 if it wasn't for the poison and everything else going on. And they discovered, they started experimenting with mice, and they were able to stop the degradation of the telomeres and got the mice to live 3 times their normal lifespan.
Whatever the was going on 6,000 years ago, whatever was going on, they were writing about some wacky shit, man. Right. All that Zacharias Hitchens stuff. The books are weird, man. I believe it was like the 1970s. He's deciphering these ancient Sumerian texts from 6,000 years ago. This is the craziest one of all. Humans were genetically engineered from lower primates.
According to some people's interpretation of the Sumerian tablets, the oldest known writing in the world, they tell stories of a species of giants that came from a planet the Sumerians called Nibiru and the Babylonians called Marduk. They're commonly known as the Anunnaki, and some people think they actually genetically engineered the human race from primate DNA and alien DNA. Which I know sounds completely insane, but when you actually go down the rabbit hole, there's a lot of evidence, such as the interviews from the retired CIA officer John Ramirez, who said the CIA literally found evidence that the human race is a hybrid species.
Since World War II, we learned that there has been an alien hybridization of humans.
Exclusively since World War II?
World War II. That's when the CIA learned about it. World War II.
He then says that the evidence they obtained, which was alien DNA, may have come from the Roswell crash incident, which is an alleged UFO crash site in 1947 that happened 2 years after World War II.
The chief god was Enlil, or Enlil, he can be called as well, Enlil. And one of the other gods was Enki. But Enki was the god who Enlil called upon to create primeval man. In this account, it says the Anuna were meeting, and Enlil says, "We are so tired of doing all our own work. We're digging our own canals. We're mining our own resources. We're tilling our own ground. Let us therefore create primeval man to do our work for us." They're tilling their ground. They're mining their resources. Now, jump ahead. Over the next 1,500 to 2,000 years, as mankind spreads down out of the Fertile Crescent down into the Canaanite region, Palestine, the Canaanites and the Hebrews pick up on these names. Elil becomes to the Hebrews El, E-L. They've shortened the name. E-L just simply in Hebrew means God. And Elil in the Bible can be found to be Elohim. Enki, Iyah, becomes the same base word in Canaanite culture, and in Hebrew culture, Iyah becomes Yahweh, which is the base word for Jehovah. And you go to the Genesis story, and you've got God. It's now, instead of enslavement, it's a paradise, but God creates Adam and Eve and places them in the garden to do what? To till the ground and keep it for him. This similarity is so striking.
If this is true, it changes everything. According to historical records, the first ancient civilization known to us is that of the ancient Sumerians. The Sumerians existed over 6,000 years ago, predating the Egyptians by 1,000 years. They resided in a region known as Mesopotamia, which encompasses present-day Iraq and parts of Iran, Kuwait, Syria, and Turkey. The Sumerians referred to themselves as black-headed ones, or black-headed people, and held a belief in gods known as the Anunnaki, described as children of the earth and skies. Some researchers speculate that the ancient Sumerians had a remarkable understanding of the universe, as depicted in artifacts showing the solar system with planets orbiting the sun. Adding to their intrigue are depictions of ancient handbags and bracelets. The Sumerians made groundbreaking inventions, including the wheel, alphabet, and the calendar we use today. They also developed irrigation systems for farming, and established a system to measure time in seconds, minutes, and hours. Some believe that knowledge was bestowed upon them. The Sumerian civilization appears to have been one of the most advanced of its time, challenging modern explanations of our history. The discovery of 30,000 stone tablets from ancient Sumeria includes the story called the Epic of Gilgamesh, which features a great flood, an event also found in many other religious texts.
Bending theory is called the theory of Loosh, and it proposes that a certain and powerful unseen energy is produced by us humans whenever we undergo intense emotional experiences, and that this energy is harvested and consumed by higher dimensional entities for their own sustenance and survival, with some people calling them the Anunnaki, the Archons, the Dracos, the Reptilians, and the list just seems to go on and on and on. Robert Monroe, who's a pioneer in the exploration of human consciousness and out-of-body experiences, first introduced the concept of Loosh in his writings. According to Monroe, Loosh is a form of energy generated by living entities through experiences and emotions, more specifically those involving extreme conditions like fear, pain, and intense love. So who's to say that our current reality isn't constructed in a way to maximize and optimize the production of this valuable energy? Could global events, wars, epidemics, catastrophes have a hidden agenda of Loosh generation, considering the fact that these events trigger a global wave of emotions like fear, grief, anxiety, and anger on an unprecedented scale? It's also worth noting that the concept of Loosh also bears an uncanny resemblance to ideas found in ancient metaphysical.
This reptilian, they occupy many of high society's people. They run and govern many organizations, and then the ones who want to critique it, they make fun of it and say, oh look, these people say like they're like lizard people, they're going around and they're overtaking the human person and becoming lizard people. No, it has nothing to do with that at all. This is a breed and a category of the jinn whom are unseen, and that when they manifest, and they manifest in the nature and in the character in which Allah gave to them of a reptilian form, that they are green, they look like lizards, and they have a different shape and different shapes.
Have you heard about the truth hidden in plain sight in the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie? What? Okay, so this is a spoiler alert, but the premise is that the whole movie is based upon the ancient story of how the Anunnaki supposedly created humans. Yeah, in a Marvel movie, yeah. Okay, you know what? Recently you've been so full of— Yeah, that's what I thought too, until I saw just how much evidence there is. So let's talk about the Anunnaki's creation story and compare it to the movie's storyline. Yeah, I'm not taking you serious at all, but I'll listen. According to one of the men who originally translated the Sumerian tablets which had the Anunnaki creation story on it, his name was Zacharias Sitchin, the tablets tell of a race of extraterrestrials that came to Earth from another planet. And in the movie, the main villain, his name is the High Evolutionary, said that he visited Earth. And think about the entire plot of the movie. It was about Rocket being genetically experimented on by this guy, which turned him from a primitive raccoon into a humanoid version. And they also say about the High Evolutionary in the movie that he's considered a god by some in the universe, which is exactly how the Sumerians saw these Anunnaki. And remember what they do later on in the movie, they take actual primates and turn them into humans. And according to Sitchin's work, this is exactly what the Anunnaki did. They came to Earth and genetically engineered humans from primates. So a movie about genetically engineering humanoids, and the Anunnaki creation story is genetically engineering humans. Okay, cool, a couple coincidences. That's a cute story, but wait, there's more.
Did you know the oldest ancient text in the world, called the Seven Tablets of Creation, mentions that humans were created by immortal aliens of highly advanced technology? They descended upon Earth 400,000 years ago. These cosmic visitors were from a celestial red planet known as Nibiru, and came to this planet to mine gold and resources. Our ancient ancestors called them Atlanteans or Anunnaki, and they painted the planet with their presence with ancient antiquity that can be found in every corner of the world today. Such beings, remarkable as they were, mirrored humanity in many ways, and we share their depths of human-like emotions, the ardor of love, jealousy, lust, and the shadowy abyss of hate. Their heads and bodies were much larger than human, but we look like them and they look like us. They had technological weapons so advanced that it seemed to our ancient ancestors as magic. Among these ethereal beings, a monarchical family claimed Earth and masqueraded as gods once man was created. Anu, the father and king of all the gods, stood tall as a patriarchal figure, ruling from heaven, which is really space. On Earth, his two sons and daughter ruled the planet and followed Anu's commands. Enki, the oldest son of Anu, was the god of water and the wisest of the gods, holder of all universal knowledge and wisdom. The other brother and more brutal tempestuous son was Enlil, a warrior god of the winds and storms. Enlil commanded storms, floods and winds, embodying the very essence of nature's fury. Throughout the sacred text, Enki and Enlil were always conflicting and battling each other. Enki wanted to be compassionate towards humanity, and Enlil wanted to keep them enslaved and eventually kill them off. And then there was the daughter and sister.
May 2013. Mathematician Vladimir Sherbak and astrobiologist Maxim Makukov publish a study they have conducted on the human genome. Their research has led them to the shocking conclusion that there is a hidden code within our DNA, one that contains precise mathematical patterns and an unknown symbolic language.
They looked into the human genome and they found what appeared to be an extraterrestrial stamp on our genetic code. And it operated very much like a mathematical type of code.
The odds of this sequence occurring 9 times in the randomness of our genetic code is 1 in 10 trillion. Finally, someone has come across the one piece of evidence that I've always said we need in order to prove the ancient astronaut theory. I always said it'll never be a crashed spaceship or a ray gun that will dig somewhere in the sand, but it will be found within our own DNA.
For ancient astronaut theorists, the news offered compelling evidence that mankind's DNA was deliberately manipulated by an extraterrestrial intelligence sometime in the ancient past.
The ancient astronaut theory suggests that at some point, extraterrestrials targeted our DNA with an artificial mutation of our genes. And if this is
an interesting and very important name in the biblical text and the Sumerian text is the word Adam from the Garden of Eden. Extensive tests have been conducted to see where this word came from, consistently looking for Hebrew roots. But it is a Sumerian word, which means animals. Again, we understand that human beings were considered to be animals by the Sumerian gods. And this is where lies the conflict between two gods, Enki and Enlil. Enki wants to treat them like the other gods.
These two Sumerian gods have a conflict over the use of humans, and it is to be the root of the biblical story of the serpent in the garden. As the story unravels, the riddle starts with the origin of the word Satan, or Satan in English.
Satan in Sumerian means the administrator. For years, everybody has been looking to find where this word came from. Books revolve around this issue. It is a Sumerian term. I don't understand how nobody saw it. It is very clear. We find it in ancient lexicons. Enlil is often referred to as the great Satan, the master administrator. In the Sumerian text, Enlil systematically asked Enki to go negotiate and talk with humans. He is always the one to deal with them. Remember, he is a humanoid with reptilian features.
A number of things that I've heard from people in the Pentagon, that the buzzword in the secret of secrets in the Pentagon is the Sumerian gods are returning, and that's what they're referring to as that whole area that Peter's.
Wow! Can you repeat that again, just in case anybody missed it? The buzzword
in the Pentagon, in the military circles that are in the know about the cover-up here, they kind of in whisper tones talk about the return of the Sumerian gods. And they're talking about the what we would call aliens or fallen angels returning into the Middle East, into Old Sumer area.
The Anunnaki.
Well, could be.
Under the other ancient names.
The gathering of the tribe.
Once upon a time, a great tribe of people lived in a world far away from ours. Whether far away in space or in time, or even outside of time, we do not know. They lived in a state of enchantment and joy that few of us today dare to believe could exist, except in those exceptional peak experiences where we glimpse the true potential of life and mind. One day, the elders of the tribe called a meeting. They gathered around, and one of them spoke very solemnly. "My friends," she said, "there is a world that needs our help. It is called Earth, and its fate hangs in the balance. Its humans have reached a critical point in their collective birthing, the same point our own planet was at 1 million years ago, and they will be stillborn without our help."
It's like, what are we going to do? They couldn't just come in and say, stop this, because that's interference. So they said they had a meeting with the council, and it was like, we know we can't interfere from the outside. They came up with this plan that I consider to be brilliant. They said, what if we influence from the inside? So that was when they made the call, went out for volunteers to come and help Earth.
So this would have been late 40s, early 50s
Yes.
then, that the first
This
wave...
is where I tried to put dates and years on the 3 waves.
Mhm.
My daughter says I might be a little too strict on it because some people... It's a very important time we're in right now. And there's many souls that are coming in right now to be here for it. They volunteered to come. The call went out throughout the universe, volunteers to come and help. They have to be souls that are pure, that have not known violence, have no karma to repay, to come in and help raise the consciousness of those who are here. And these people don't know they're one of these. I find it out in my work. But they have no idea on the conscious level they are one of these who has volunteered to come and to use their energy to help raise the consciousness of the world. And I've been told it's working because now the positive is beginning to overshadow the negative. And we are moving into a new world, and it's beyond anything you could expect. But it's too late to turn back now.
Wait a second. You volunteered to go to Earth?
I did. I had to. I had family trapped on Earth.
But how could you get trapped on Earth?
You had to be there to understand. On Earth, you wouldn't remember anything.
What do you mean you wouldn't remember anything?
I mean, you would have no memory of anything. You wouldn't even remember existing before Earth.
What? How is that possible?
It was designed that way. It was brilliant. To dive as deeply as possible into such ignorance, such darkness, and still find your way back to remembering who you were, that took true mastery.
Wow. I still can't believe you went to Earth. Tell me more.
Well, Earth had its own set of laws that everyone agreed to experience. Like gravity, what goes up must come down. Like linear time, day is followed by night.
Time? What's time?
You know how when we think of something it manifests instantly? Well, on Earth there was a delay. The delay is what made Earth so difficult.
Interesting. Time. So tell me more.
Before going to Earth, you would choose your family, whether you wanted to be male or female, what race you wanted to be, the location on the planet, things like that.
Oh, so you could choose your own character.
Exactly. You would enter the Earth as a baby and be completely dependent on others to teach you the rules. But since nobody could remember the rules, they made up their own rules, based on fear and giving your power away to others.
That doesn't sound like much fun.
It wasn't for everyone.
What'd you do while portions of you were on Earth?
I watched them. It was pretty funny.
What was so funny?
Here were these magnificent beings, playing the most unique and cutting-edge experience in the universe, and they were clueless. I tried to guide them as much as possible.
Wait a second, you could communicate with them?
Yes, but they couldn't hear me. I would show them synchronicities, or send them impulses to help guide them, but they couldn't see the signs.
Why not?
They didn't trust themselves.
The term starseeds is the modern name for what was known in antiquity as angels. They are residents of higher dimensions that specifically incarnated into a human physical experience with the intention to help raise the collective consciousness of humanity. Those that identify with the term starseed are not immune to the human experience in any way. They still have their own trials and tribulations, their own life challenges, along with their own karma and healing journey that needs to be completed, as well as unique overarching themes that are specific for their own spiritual growth and spiritual journey. There are so many here at this time that it truly is not even a special club.
That a lot of them, they do not fit into society. They feel very alone and alienated because they're able to see things that their parents and their friends and their teachers can't see. They are aware of things that their friends and their parents and their teachers and all their family members are not aware of. They have intuitions that are much more advanced. They're very, very intuitive. Some of them have advanced psychic abilities. Some of them have advanced healing abilities. Some of them are receiving data downloads.
The end of a spiritual season. It's the end of a 26,000 year spiritual cycle. And so a lot of people are wrapping up a lot of things in this lifetime. And those who don't have anything else to wrap up in their own evolution, they've come back to be of service and help out everybody else. And what's happening at the end of this 26,000 years is that the Earth is moving up in vibration or frequency from the third dimension, or third density is a better term, through fourth density, which is where we are now, and then eventually into fifth density. Fifth density is a vibration of oneness and unconditional love. So this is a dramatic and radical and unprecedented shift in the Earth's vibration. And those of us who are in body now came to assist with the ascension process. So what does the ascension process consist of? Well, it's essentially a process of purification. What is happening is that a lot of divine light direct from source is flooding the planet. And this is having a profound impact on every life form on the planet and also within the planet and around the planet. The light has the effect of bringing to the surface everything unlike itself. In other words, everything of a lower vibration. The reason it does that is so that you can recognize these lower vibrational thought forms or feelings or whatever they might be, recognize them consciously, thank them for whatever they have taught you, bless them, and then release them to the universe or release them to source. That's essentially the process of letting go of something that is of a lower vibration. So for eons now, these lower vibrational thought forms and feelings and emotions, they've been largely subconscious, hidden from the awareness of the average person, but driving behavior in quite significant ways. And now all of this darkness is coming to the surface, and it's happening individually in every person's life. And it's also happening collectively to humanity as a whole, which I think is why you see all the craziness you see in the news these days. All the darkness is being brought to the surface by this influx of light. It's being brought to the surface so that we can recognize it, bless it, thank it, release it, let it go. And once it's gone, that allows our vibration to rise, its vibration to rise, and then we can complete the passage through fourth density and into fifth density. And we will get to a point, and I don't know when it's going to happen. I don't think anybody knows exactly when it will happen, but we will get to a point, as I understand it, where we return to a state of oneness consciousness in which we no longer perceive ourselves as separate beings. We have a direct perception of the fact that each one of us is actually a cell, what you could call a cell in the heart of God. Each one of us is a cell in one magnificent being that exists all throughout all the dimensions in all the universes.
want the world to know about Ascension. I would want the world to know that we are very, very close. And all the people on the inside know this. This is the key of disclosure. We are very close to some sort of energetic shift that the sun is going to do. There have already been multiple experiments, I've heard this from several insiders, in which they take ordinary folks and they put them into a room and they zap them with the energy that our sun is going to give off when we go through this change. Become very blissed out. They start to get really telepathic. They can move things with their mind. Everybody kind of goes into a psychedelic trip. Our government knows that this is going to happen, where there's no veil left, where we are wide open to reality.
Unprecedented change and transformation. Yes, you heard me right. The world as we know it is shifting and evolving in ways that we could not have imagined before. This transition is not easy or smooth. It is a process that requires time, patience, and courage. As we enter the new age of Aquarius, we are also facing a huge paradigm shift, a change in the way we perceive ourselves and reality. The old paradigms that were based on fear, scarcity, and limitation are being challenged and disturbed by the new paradigms that are based on love, abundance, and freedom. The old energies that were suppressing us are being released and purified by the new energies that are uplifting us. The old systems that were controlling us are being exposed and dismantled by the new systems that are empowering us. This is a lot to take in, I know. But don't worry, you are not alone in this journey. We are all in this together, and we have each other's support and guidance.
And by popular request, I am revising this video on DNA activation and also the meditation that goes with it. This type of activation also offers great benefits to physical health, increases intuition, raises positive emotional states, and brings us in alignment with our full manifestation potential. Our DNA is our blueprint of life, and it's in every cell of our body, and more precisely in our chromosomes. In addition to each chromosome's 2-strand double helix of DNA, there are additional etheric strands of DNA available to each human, which have been dormant since the beginning of recorded history. And each of these strands possesses qualities that permit individuals to experience heightened performance and success. Scientists acknowledge that we currently only use about 3% of our current 2-strand DNA. Additionally, cellular biologists have discovered that negative emotions, such as fear and anger, have the power to contract the DNA molecule, causing it to compress. In the same research, positive emotions such as gratitude, happiness, and love were shown to unwind or decompress DNA. Dr. Adele Brand says, think of yourself right now as a person with 2 strands of DNA with only 1 strand active. You are as a standalone computer with access to only about 16 megabytes of RAM. This means you can only run a few programs, none concurrently, and you are not even connected to the internet. Once you activate your DNA, it's like you get a DSL connection to the mind of everything and can access anything you want just by using your intent and intuition.
Just detachment is power. Everything here is inverted. It's detachment that's power. Your whole life is memorized. You have nothing to think about. Your whole life was pre-birth planned before you got here. This is the turning point where we literally turn the whole inverted matrix the other way around. And we reverse all of the brainwashing and all the programming.
This planet is a microcosm of the universe and is destined to eventually be reborn again. Starseeds are here to help this planet evolve to the point of rebirth. A starseed is a being who is seated on Earth from other star systems. They can understand life at a different, higher level, and they can help the Earth evolve to a higher dimension so that life on Earth will be a beautiful experience for everyone. Since the universe began, starseeds have traveled through many different star systems and taken many forms so that eventually they became human. They are here to assist the people on Earth in the transition of current society to a starseed society. They carry more advanced DNA strands, which help them access higher consciousness. Starseeds are those who awaken their Kundalini and activate their DNA with much more ease than humans, and therefore have the capability to show others the way. They are here to help humanity awaken the Kundalini by activating the DNA and higher consciousness of humans. The Kundalini awakening is a spiritual experience that will open your third eye, activate your DNA, and raise your vibration. It will strengthen your connection to your higher self, your higher consciousness, and to your star family. The Kundalini energy will awaken your spiritual energy, and when it does, it can produce many spiritual and physical changes.
What the prophecies say is the time of the harvest, the time of the end of this wave of evolution of mankind, where certain ones ascend, awaken, remember who they are, and reclaim their divinity.
And we are now passing through a period in which an acceleration of consciousness is taking place.
Everybody's benefiting from these finer conscious levels that we are arriving at, simply by means of where the sun is taking us.
The earth itself is a conscious living entity. We're getting ready to evolve at a very fast rate. The reason this happens is because the center of the galaxy puts out pulses. If everyone starts to find out that this, what 2012 really is about, then that's going to accelerate the process even more. They're going to start catching on to the truth of what's happening.
So if human nature starts to change, that means everything moves off the peg of expectation of normal.
The new paradigm, right?
New paradigm. That's right. If you heard the term the shift, it has to do with the 2012. That's actually an astronomy measurement. It's called the precession of the equinoxes, and the indigenous called it, the Mayan calendar called it, and it has to do with moving into another cycle of the planet. It represents a 26,000-year wobble. So if you talk to indigenous people, they're all about cycles. Everything's cycles, cycles, cycles. And this is one of the major cycles. We weren't really supposed to get it.
Flash, right? The Great Solar Flash is basically a cosmic celestial event that's going to cause a DNA activation on the planet, because you're going from a third dimensional frequency to a fifth dimensional frequency, which coincides with the Bathari gland. Because when you break down the etymological roots of the word bara, it means a new space and time through the cuneiform language. So that new space and time is going to cause a DNA activation that's going to activate the Akashic records all throughout your biological structure, all throughout your anatomy, right? So during this cosmic event, that's when the sun is basically at solar maximum, because we're entering now the last solar cycle, because that means that, you know, the lunar frequency on the planet has basically been depleted, because that lunar frequency is what controls the electrical grid nodes on the planet in the firmament that keeps us acclimated to a better simulation of reality, which is the matrix, right? So when this celestial event happens and you have these colossal coronal mass ejections that's going to be projected to the planet, that's when they're going to say, oh, Russia bombed somebody, or Ukraine bombed somebody, or the United States bombed somebody, when that's not really what happened. Now, the solar transmission from the cosmos and from the sun is what's going to cause all types of calamities on the planet. So I need you to also understand that this great solar flash is also a DNA activation, because the DNA in your biological structure is an electromagnetic generator and a light code transducer by transmuting the light code messages from the mRNA to the DNA. So it's acting as an amplifier and a converter by activating the light codes. So it's basically going to transmute the carbonated body into a crystallized being, to where it's going to activate the 144,000 crystals in your brain called the magnetites and the dendrites, right? So it shows you a great awakening, fifth dimensional ascension map right here. So a lot of people thought the world was going to end in 2012, but like I said, you live in a